would you mind clapping your hands like in front of your face? Like, great. That was perfect. Okay. So how did you first get exposed to Sigmund in general, music or otherwise?
Yeah, well, I first found out about him from an underground newspaper in Milwaukee called the Bugle American. He put out an album called Virginia Wolf, and they had in the Bugle American, I think they ran an ad for it, and there was a review. And the big thing on the album was this album is dedicated to those people who think Milwaukee, that Milwaukee doesn't have any genius. Sigmund was a genius. And that was not a turn on for me, but the review kind of interested me because they pointed out it was prog rock and made all the right comparisons to like the Moody Blues and Frank Zappa. Right there, that got my attention because the Moody Blues and Frank Zappa are, to me, very distinct sounds. So I bought, I got a little bit of my hard-earned bucks, and I bought the album. And that was when I really thought this guy was great. None of my friends like Sigmund. I was strictly, I would play it for them. They go, meh, I've actually had a better job of turning people on to Sigmund elsewhere. But in Milwaukee, I didn't know any other Milwaukeeans who liked him, ever.
Can you, in general, just talk about your book?
Sure.
For some added content.
Right. The book is Adventures in Avant Pop, and it's 7 musical careers. I had originally planned to write a biography of Yoko Ono, and then I thought, well, who do I like a lot who's kind of like Yoko Ono? And, an odd mix of people suggested themselves, Frank Zappa, Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, Sun Ra, James Brown. And then Sigmund, kind of at the tail end, I thought, well, this is something I can really do for the world because people have heard of these other people, they're famous / notorious. Sigmund was, which one of these is not like the rest?
Sigmund Snopek's career had spanned half a century and taken him all over the world, amassing a staggering body of work across multiple genres. But somehow, it seemed that nobody had ever heard of him. This was the mystery at the heart of Toadi's documentary, and he knew that, in order to solve it, he would need to understand the place that Sigmund had always called home, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
What's so great about Milwaukee, I think, is its blend of large and small. It's often described as a big small town, and in a lot of ways that's true. It has professional sports teams, world-class festivals, extremely diverse, so it's a real global city. At the same time, it's very manageable. The streetscape's very approachable. People tend to be kind of Midwestern friendly. It's close to nature. It's in a gorgeous rural state. So that it has kind of a sweet spot between large and small that I think is pretty rare.
I do really, really love Milwaukee. It's just a perfect blend of weird and sports bars, I guess. I don't know. I think there is a deep love of art in Milwaukee too, and I think maybe there's a confluence there of sort of Midwestern niceness, German hospitality, and love of art where that kind of centers and brings in people.
Depends on where you live. They've all got their own flavor. They've got their own thing, and here we are in Milwaukee. Man, Milwaukee doesn't get much credit, but Milwaukee's a great town. It's a great music town. You've got motorcycles, you've got beer, you've got music, you've got festivals. It's awesome.
In Adventures in Avant Pop, Milky describes Sigmund's music as a Whitman-esque catalog of enchanted Wisconsin spaces, and the titles of his songs prove the description to be apt. Like Joyce's Dublin or Faulkner's Mississippi, Snopek's Wisconsin is a complex space alive with nuance.
I mean, a positive thing about Sigmund is that he's a very rare example of something that used to be common, which was the regional musician. Someone who has a lot of meaning within their immediate geographical area and is a great musician, but has devoted his life to that place, Milwaukee. I mean, he even sings songs about it. He writes songs about it. Made a whole album, WisconsInsane, about Wisconsin.
Personally, if we were in Europe, I think that Sigmund would have a stipend from the city for all the things he's done for Milwaukee, and he wouldn't have to worry about money or health insurance or anything, because he would be seen as like a national treasure or like a local treasure. But we don't live in Europe, we live in America, so it's different.
Sigmund Snopek does cast a wide shadow over the Milwaukee art scene, but also sort of remains this mythic figure. Like, it's weird where he's there, but he's not there in some, like, I think really important ways for artists to be.
You know, I think you can spot an artist or tell an artist as opposed to people that don't really have any talent, but seem to have a talent for self-promotion or, you know, self-aggrandizement, whatever it might be. And he was an artist and obviously did it his way. As a, you know, like, I can play another song. Well, yeah, I can do ballads. Actually, heavy metal is what. I mean, they don't really have anything. They're so hungry for fame. He never struck me as that kind of guy, and those are the kind of people I usually like, who appear to be regular people, but just have the DNA took a left turn somewhere and just kind of went another route.
He's a jolly old soul, and there's nobody like him. Nobody like him in the Wisconsin music scene. There's just nobody. Well, I think, you know, as compared to most musicians in any town, somebody who got to open up for Jimi Hendrix at the Atlanta Pop Festival in 1970, and somebody who played for 20 years with the Violent Femmes, one of the most well-known bands from his home state, and is on 8 of their albums, and somebody who has played Summerfest more than anybody that's ever played it. I mean, he's an icon. Sigmund Snopek opened for Jimi Hendrix. How many people can say that? The Violent Femmes can't say that. The Bodines in Milwaukee can't say that. Les Paul can't say that. Sigmund said one time, "I'm the only musician you'll ever meet that played Carnegie Hall and a bowling alley in West Bend in the same week."
Brian Ritchie, when he was taking a break from the early Femmes and did a solo record, he chose me just for one song because he was doing a mock country western song called "Religion Ruined My Life." And in the control room, which is like a little side room, there was a board, and then there was this like almost like newspaper clipping right above the board with this alien-looking kind of overlord guy, and under it, it said, "Sig controls everything." And so right there, I started to wonder, you know, who is this Sig?
Tequila! Want to be in a movie? He's making a movie. Come on, they're just gonna hang out around the horn. Can you sing Ricola? Ricola! That's me. He's making a movie. Ricola!
Ricola!
You guys
It's an elk horn for the Swiss Alps.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks. You see the flag there, the white cross?
Yes.
That's the flag of Switzerland.
Oh.
Or in Germany, you would say Schweizerland, ja.
Schweizer?
Schweizerland, ja.
Bye, thank you.
Bye, take care.
Have a nice day.
You too. You get some candy?
Yep.
All right. I'm not following you. No.
I know.
I love Winkies.
Yeah, why? Nice.
So you heard that horn and you realized it must be me, huh?
Yeah, well, I think I've seen you with it before.
Yeah.
What can I give you?
Get me a, let's see, about 6 pieces of the butter almond toffee.
Okay.
Give or take, it doesn't matter.
Anything else?
Yeah, about 6 of the malted milk balls.
Okay.
The dark chocolate ones.
All right.
That should do it.
All in the same bag or separate bags?
Separate bag.
Okay.
Segregated candy.
What's your movie about?
It's about my life.
Cool.
In this documentaries.
Oh, cool. $3.77.
All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. And maybe mostly about my musical life.
Oh, cool.
We won't get too personal. That's the filmmaker, I guess.
One of the reasons why we were attracted to Sigmund and he was attracted to us was the fact that we were all very diehard Wisconsin eccentrics. Someone that really is into doing their own thing and not really regarding what anybody else has to say about it, and also doing it in a very wonderful and clearly forthright way. So people with confidence. That certainly is something that Frank Lloyd Wright and Les Paul and Sigmund have all exhibited during their careers, I think.
Sigmund is like no other. He's unique. He's an artist, always doing something artful, which nobody gives a shit about, but it's art. That's why you do it, because it's art. Let me put it this way. I call Sigmund and he goes, "This is Sigmund. Leave a message. By the way, it's raining diamonds on Saturn. Come on, sing. Whatever, dude. I just want to talk to him. I don't care about other planets, but whatever."
Always keep your dreams. Always. Always keep your dreams. Always keep your dreams. Always keep your dreams. Always.
Well, Sigmund's personality is such that it embodies many great contradictions, and this includes his his actual human life as well as his musical life. Well, we'll just talk about music. He started out playing in rock bands in the 60s, but he was classically trained, and by the time he was a teenager, I think he had already written a symphony. So he came to a crossroads in his life where he could have either gone into rock music or he could have gone into classical music. Usually, if you want to be in classical music, that's a serious decision, and you're not going to be goofing around with pop music. So he made the decision to go into pop music, and at one point I asked him, "Sig, what was the deciding factor? Why did you decide to become a pop musician rather than a classical musician?" And his answer was typically Snopek. because in classical music, they expect you to be on time. So, I think this is kind of an exemplar or a metaphor for his entire life. He makes decisions, major decisions, based on minor factors. So, I think if you really want to do a biography of Sig, you go back and you look at all these different turning points in his life, and you'll see that he's usually probably gone in the exact direction that probably he shouldn't have gone in, but that's that's an outgrowth of his personality.
All right. So where are we going now?
This is called Making Sausage Recording Studios. Proprietor Steve Hamilton. Done a bunch of projects here, and it's a fun place to hang out and check out instruments, and it's a great vibe. I really like recording here. Let's see. It's me. Thank you. Come on in. Welcome to Making Sausage. I think that he's up here. Steve, how are you?
Good. Hi. How are you?
Good. This is Nick.
Hey, Nick.
He's
Hi, Steve.
making a film about me and my friends.
I gathered as much. You and your friends?
Yeah. My friend. This is the only friend I have. No.
The only friend here besides Nick.
The only friend I don't owe money to, or maybe I do.
Maybe you will.
When did you get the Wurlitzer?
I've had that for a while.
I got one too. Mine is painted like a package of Winston's.
Let's go downstairs.
Okay. Let me grab my coat.
If you want to play one, you play the one upstairs.
This is like a museum. Pump. It's a pump organ, huh?
Yeah, it works.
Beatles use this on we can work it out. Your bellows probably need some work.
You gotta pump both of them.
Get a pump.
You're just being lazy. Here you go.
I could hide beneath the wings of the bluebird as she sings. 6 o'clock alarm never rings, but it rings and I rise. I wipe the sleep out of my eyes. The shaving razor's cold and it stings. Cheer up, sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it mean to a daydream believer? A story that goes along with that. Peter Tork from the Monkees. We put him up for a while at the hotel at the Shorecrest. And when he walked into my apartment, I started going. And he said, "Cut it out, cut it out." He was bitter about the Monkees.
You had just about enough of that.
Yeah, you know what? You need to see the organ maker about getting the bellows treated before they.
Bellows are good. You just
You think so?
upside
You
down.
gonna pump one?
I'll put it up.
Okay.
Wait, you pump one.
Oh, I got you. Okay. Let me take you down, 'cause I'm going to strawberry fields. Nothing is real, like that one. Nothing to get hung about. Strawberry fields forever. Boy, you could lose weight going on the road with one of these things. Thing must weigh a ton. Look at the lava lamps. Wow, yeah, this is way more organized than you were working on all this stuff last time I was here.
Yeah, good or bad. I've been working on it, still working on it.
Mind if I play a little here? did you get this piano? Nothing like a little Bach to cheer up your day, huh? Beautiful piano. Wow, that's a beautiful piano. That's called Summer Guest. I wrote that in 1974, and I still remember it.
I think Sigmund is like a reincarnated, classical composer that like came back to like hang out and drink beer in Milwaukee. He's in rock and roll and he's in this time period, but he's not of this time. I've never seen anybody in this day and age with like pages and pages and pages of handwritten scores of operas and, arias and classical symphonies, written by hand. I mean, there's not many people left on this planet who can even do that.
Sigmund has written hundreds of classical compositions, but he has only released 2 albums collecting these works. Jade compiles 17 of his impressionistic solo piano pieces, while Miasma Fragments is a more experimental collection written for the pipe organ. Like many other modern composers who struggle to find patrons to commission their works, Sigmund's compositions, ranging from symphonies and operas to song cycle settings of modernist poetry, are often performed only once before disappearing into musical obscurity. One of Sigmund's most important collaborators is his fiancée and sometimes bandmate, Denise Getch. The pair led Toady on an afternoon tour of Milwaukee's East Side bars, where the filmmaker noted that Sigmund, a virtual unknown in most of the U.S., seems to be recognized everywhere he goes in his hometown.
So how do you two know each other?
Through the music world.
Through music, yeah. I've known about him for years, but he used to scare me.
What?
He used to scare me.
Yeah.
It was a little more intimidation. He was the big rock star. So
I was always polite.
You were polite. But yeah, it still intimidated me.
I think I may have told him this once, and I don't know that he remembers, but, and this is going way back, because I've always loved the Femmes, but they did this song called Nothing Worth Living For. And I was at 19 and highly depressed, and I actually tried to commit suicide to that song.
And that was Sigmund playing the piano?
That was Sigmund playing the piano, yeah. But the piano playing on that song is just amazing, and it resonated at a time in my life where I wasn't in a very good spot. But so that goes way back. I didn't really get an idea of who he was until I started seeing him hanging out at Linneman's. And then I was just afraid to talk to him because, he was this big rock star that played with the Violent Femmes, and I was this silly little fangirl. Oh my God, I can't talk to him.
How'd you categorize him as a composer?
Oh, as a composer, he was very much inspired by John Cage. So his classical is brilliant, but it's not super accessible to the uninitiated. You have to have some background in listening to some of the heavier, and it's not even classical really, neoclassical. You have to have some background in listening to that style of music and have an appreciation for it, because otherwise you're going to listen to it and go, what? Because you're expecting something, like a Tchaikovsky and that's not his at all. I think serious musicians get it. I don't know that the uninitiated public necessarily do. Some of his stuff is easier, but some of it is very, very esoteric and very hard to understand.
Sound here?
One of Sigmund's most overtly Cagean compositions, Environmental 1, was created as part of the opening ceremonies for Milwaukee's ArtFest 74. This 3-day-long continuous piece saw Sigmund following a set schedule of nonstop performance, traveling through southern Wisconsin and creating sounds to accompany those of his immediate environment.
I first met Sigmund. At that time, I was still living at my parents' house in Racine, Wisconsin. I had heard that this musician named Sigmund Snopek III was going to be conducting a little musical experiment outside the radio station. And what it was, Sigmund was on this adventure where he was trying to play music nonstop for I'm not sure how many hours. So I went over around maybe 11 o'clock at night, and I walked up, and as I was approaching, I saw a van there, and I heard some flute being played. So as I walked up, I saw this character, Sigmund Snopek, was playing flute. So I walked up and I said, "Excuse me, are you Sigmund Snopek?" And he goes, "Yes, I am." And he stopped playing flute, but then he picked up a pair of little finger cymbals so he could always be making some kind of a musical expression while we were talking.
To me, the person I might compare it to is Andy Kaufman. Well, like Andy Kaufman was not a traditional comedian. There was no setup punchline. It was immersion in the character, becoming Tony Clifton or the wrestler or whatever it might be, to the point of annoying people. Look, we know you're not that guy. Stop doing it, but he would just keep taking it. And this seems like the musical equivalent of that. You either get it or you're just oblivious.
Well, he's a very inventive musician, and he likes to utilize what's going around on whether it's on stage with him or something happening in the audience. I think the reason why that is, why Sigmund is so comfortable being afloat, is that he's had a lot of experience writing music for theater and also working with actors and directors and playwrights. So I think that is something that rubbed off on him over the years, where he started to feel as though the idea of a musician performing doesn't mean that you're just standing up there playing music. There's a whole other aspect to it that involves performance and how one presents oneself.
When he went to UWM, he studied composition, and his teacher said he was one of the best students he ever had. John Downey was a huge composition professor, and he took lessons from him. And John Downey told me that he was one of his very best students out of everybody.
I have a question. Dr. Downey, was there anything about Sigmund that led you to believe he would never finish college?
Yes, many things. In fact, the evidence was so overwhelming
that I almost collapsed when he finally did come through. So, yeah, I think he's had an influence on me and making me more aware of what rock musicians were doing, particularly what he was doing. I went to hear his group off and listen to the records. And on the other hand, he wanted to write music for the Milwaukee Symphony. He had a commission. And the idea was to get him to handle the symphony orchestra in a professional way, which I think he is more than amply proven that he could do on 2 occasions. Was your first piece, what was that called, Blue Pillow or Orange Blue? Orange Blue. And the second work, The Talking Symphony, I thought was a tremendous success.
Well, the Talking Symphony was a very big project. He wrote the whole symphony on paper and everything. I proofed a lot of the parts with him. And then we went to the PAC to play with the Milwaukee Symphony. It was also with the Integrated Light and Sound show. So Scott Marshall, who was he had oils, and he'd project oil things behind us. So they put a scrim on the front of the PAC, just a big white sheet. And then he projected the oil things, which are very cool, actually.
He premiered his second symphony, the Talking Symphony, and I went with friends, and that was interesting because the symphony had theatrical elements, and a member of the Milwaukee Symphony said Sigmund Snopek stinks or something. You know, there was some, you know, there was a theater uproar.
At the end of the symphony, there was an audience member, and he got up, or it was actually a symphony member. It was a symphony member, got up out of his chair, and he said, "Snopek stinks." And then, so that actually got written up in the paper. He got reprimanded for that because it's not, not a real great thing to say. But
did you hear the symphony members shout?
Oh yeah, I was there. Yeah, I think people just like, either thought it was a joke or we just all started applauding. No way did he stink.
Hey George, can you bring some beer? I forgot to bring beer. I can reimburse you. Bring it like a 6-pack of Pabst. Okay, we're down there. We're doing some pre-production. We're here at River West Radio and Video. Here's the proprietor. Want to introduce yourself?
I'm Zav. I'm the proprietor of River West Film and Video, and I'm the station manager of River West Radio. Sigmund does a weekly show. We've been archiving and
playing my music, and also music produced that I help produce of other people's albums and tapes. And one of the projects we're actually working on right now is taking a lot of these tapes. Some people don't even know what tapes were anymore, and the ones that are still. That's what it looks like. The ones that are still working, we're transferring the music onto digital properties so that it can be preserved a little longer. So we're going to flip one on here and see if it works. Let's see if it's still. The tape looks pretty healthy. Some of the tapes just disintegrate. That's why I'm glad we started this project, but I wish I'd started it sooner. Of course, the technology didn't exist to do some of the things that we can do now. You got stuff, yeah?
Oh, here it comes.
Some of this music I haven't heard for over 50 years, so there we go. So we'll get this all set up, and then we're going to go and do the radio show, which starts at 8 o'clock. Featuring myself and Georgie Darrow, who's a New York native and quite a character.
We started this radio station a long time ago. It's 7 years up to now, almost in March. But we were talking to Zig, and we just became FM. So playing commercial music was like a no-no. And everybody started having to do music that wasn't commercial, so which wasn't that hard, but and I said, Zig, why don't we just start playing the complete works of Sigmund Snopek? And well, it didn't take him long to decide, right? You know, of course, he's got such a body of work. So here we are. In July, this will be 2 years of an hour a week times 2 years. That's like, you know, close to 100 weeks. And we're not done yet. We're still finding music. I'm not getting anything.
We got lights here.
Oh, PFL. There we go.
Nothing yet on the headphones.
You are listening to WXRW 104.1 FM LP Milwaukee, America. This
Hello?
is Musicology streaming live. Music with Sigmund Snopek. Let's see if his mic works.
Hello, hello. I think I can hear it, yeah. Actually, where is the, yeah, I can hear it. Hi, everybody. Hello to Debbie and Dave. Hello to Denise. Hello to Russell. We're going to have some fun tonight. We have a special guest, Nick Nolte. He's doing a film. You can't see a film on the radio, but you will see the film eventually.
You'll feel it.
Yeah, and we're going to open up with a clarinet piece that I wrote for Ginka Cohen.
Oh, the dancer
She's a
person.
dancer, yeah, and she's also a potterer up in Door County, but she and her husband have gone off to the potter in the sky.
Safe journey.
Safe journey. Are you playing it?
I was waiting for you to cue me.
Oh, there you go, George.
Let's
Turn it
see.
on. We just transferred this over from tape.
You guys have been uncovering a lot of this unheard Snopek stuff.
Yes.
What do you have any highlights from that? Like, what were some big surprises you found?
Well, every piece was a surprise, because I didn't hear anything that didn't interest me. I mean, he never. I don't think I know anything that he's done that I don't like. For one reason or another, you know. Except for maybe the off-color, you know, sex, you know, juvenile stuff doesn't interest me, and it's too Milwaukee-ized. So if I'm not from New York, I don't even understand it.
I got me an urgent to fuck a virgin sturgeon. So how about splurging and driving up Sturgeon Bay? It could be delightful. We'll suck down a nightful of beers and be spiteful of laws as we go. Hey! So how about splurging and driving up Sturgeon Bay? Hey! That's my cowabunga!
Some of the lightheartedness that he has, the playfulness that he has in his live shows, in some of the more offhand things, that's not always there in the classical music. He really wants his music, his classical music, to be taken seriously. And so I think he tends to write more seriously when he's writing in a classical vein. I think people don't know what to do with him. He does things in a way that nobody else does. I think that's the main thing. He's got his hand in so many pies that, you know, people like to know who you are, and they don't know who Sig is because they can't pin him down to any one thing.
And you know, he always told this story about when he did his big symphony at the Skimmerhorn. He did this very serious classical show, symphony, and he wasn't wearing shoes, and it was like everybody freaked out. Being barefoot at the Skimmerhorn in a symphony was like radical rock and roll, apparently.
I think there was a part of him that always yearned to be a big rock star, and then there's another part of him that's got a real stubborn, I'm gonna do it my way kind of streak. You know, there's certain artists that will, when they get really, really good at something and it's really hitting, they all of a sudden say, I'm gonna trash this now. and he's got a touch of that, I'm afraid. The last 20 plus years or so, He is basically making his living day to day, hauling his equipment around, and I don't envy him, and yet the talent level is still there. I mean, there's been many bright moments over the years with him musically. There's Roy Rogers meets Albert Einstein, which is really an amazing piece of work. Very complex music that demands that you listen. That's the whole thing about Sigmund's music for the most part. It's not music you can put on the background and have a drink over or whatever, talking to friends about things. It's music that you need to sit down and listen to really appreciate what's going on.
Why did he not become, given his talent, why do you think he didn't become famous?
Because he wouldn't leave Milwaukee. That's plain. It's just that simple. He wouldn't leave Milwaukee. You couldn't get him out of Milwaukee. And I oftentimes told him, why do you stay here? You should go to New York. You should go to Los Angeles. You've got the chops. You have unbelievable compositions. But he liked Milwaukee, and he just wouldn't leave. And we were hoping that some major label would pick him up. Never happened. Never happened.
Siggy's smart enough to make a song that would just be popular. But he doesn't. He's always been true to himself. And that's where maybe compromising would have got him further. But if the deal had come along where he didn't have to compromise, where he could have been true to himself, I'm sure he would have taken it. But I don't think that's happened, and he's not going to do it.
You're listening to the music of Sigmund Snopek on River West Radio. This is Musicology, streaming live, dreaming live, and we're listening to the Jade album, which is a great piece of piano music played by his instructor.
Just a couple of the pieces. That one that you just heard, I played. Don plays 3 or 4, and I play the rest.
What's his name again?
Don Stimpert, and we use his beautiful.
What a great player! Oh my God,
piano.
He was like every note is like virtual.
His Mason Hamlin grand piano with a special sustain pedal attachment and a climate controlled.
So we'll be back next week at the same time. We only have an hour, so. We'll be back on River West Radio next time, every Thursday from 8 to 9. And you can check us out online, of course, on SoundCloud, River West Radio.
And we're making a film tonight. We have Nick Nolte.
Lucky. It's going to be acetate again.
I say your name right, it's right.
Or Mylar.
Toti.
So,
Toti.
Thanks for joining us.
Toti, yes.
And take care of each other. And this is Musicology, over and out. And
watch
more
for
music,
the movie.
some more Sigmund Snopek music to take us out to the street and the earth. So, see ya.
See ya. Watch for the movie.
See you next week, kids.
See you next week, everybody.
See you next week.
Except.
The camera.
So, your music is obviously pretty eclectic. Is there any, so if you were just independently wealthy, you just have billions of dollars in your bank account, what kind of music would you be writing?
That's a good question. I would still be writing. I would write music that people would want me to write. If they're going to commission me, it's usually for a reason. I can write. Like, I've done 2 major Irish pieces, and one came out of the other. The people that I was working for the first one, we had it performed at Irish Fest, and then the heads of Irish Fest commissioned me to write another one. And I think even if I had a lot of money, I would still, if people had expressed a desire to have me try my skills at one of their cultures, I would try that. Maybe there were some things I wouldn't do, but I've enjoyed all the aspects of interacting with people and playing everything from punk rock to Gregorian chant. Maybe I would pick the situations in a different fashion. I wouldn't be in such a desperate conundrum sometimes because of finances. Sometimes that pressure, though, makes you create. Like the Mozart movie, where he was out of money and the guy kept on coming over and saying, "Is it done yet? Is it done yet?" And then give him a little more money.
I mean, you're pretty prolific, though, so it seems like you don't need much extra motivation to get stuff written. Maybe that's wrong, though.
I think I probably had a lot more motivation when I was younger, just because I had more energy, and there were many things that I wanted to do that since I have done. For instance, I wanted to play at Carnegie Hall, and I did that. I wanted to write symphonies, and at one point I had, and another point I wrote one. I got paid to do it. That wasn't the main reason. That was an afterthought for me, anyhow.
It's interesting to me that you say that you are, if money was no option, you would write the things that people asked you to write, because it suggests that there's like a sense of community or something at the heart of what you're interested in writing music for.
Yeah, to share things culturally and to enrich and enhance the world.
To share things culturally and to enrich and enhance the world. Is that what they had spent the day doing? Sigmund's phrase repeated in Toadie's head as they drove through the cold April night. The final destination of the filmmaker's long first day in Milwaukee was Sigmund's apartment, where one last mystery remained.